the Bible truly is the Word of God, or why I believe that it teaches this or that. Instead of being detrimental, as in the case of the engineer that we'd mentioned, such questions provide us with an opportunity to share our faith. Look with me in 1 Peter 3:15. It said, "But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear." So don't be afraid for anyone to ask. Many people believe that they have to be a Bible scholar before they can talk with someone about the Bible. That is just not the case at all. If we live to be 100 years old, we will still be students of the Bible. We continue to learn as we continue to study. So don't be afraid to talk with someone about the Bible and their salvation. That would be a perfect opportunity to say, well, why don't we find that out together? Let's look it up in the Bible. Because the Bible has all the answers. We just need to find them. I'm Ron Bradshaw, and that's my humble opinion.
Excuse me, can you spare 50 seconds? You may say you don't have enough time. You're too busy. It is true that you're constantly losing time. In fact, you've already lost about 10 seconds. Time waits for no one. It will not wait for the person who gets a flat tire while driving to work. It won't wait for the student who awakes 5 minutes before class having forgotten to set his alarm clock. It won't wait for a radio message that only has about 25 seconds left, and it won't wait for you. Every second that passes is a second that brings you closer to eternity. Every second is a second that can offer you no second chance. Only a few seconds are left in this message. It will end, and so will your opportunity one day to obey Jesus. Before your time runs out, will you please consider taking a few seconds to consider a decision that will take you into eternity? I'm Jim Dearman with a brief message of truth for the world.
Speaking on this program is Jim Dearman.
There was once a little girl who was to undergo major surgery and needed a rare type of blood. Her little brother, who loved her dearly, had the same type of blood and agreed to give her some of his. As the transfusion was taking place, the nurse noticed that the boy seemed unusually afraid, and so she asked him how he felt. "How soon will I die?" he asked. "Why, you aren't going to die," the nurse replied, and then he confessed that he thought by giving his blood to his sister, he would also be giving his life for her. In the Scriptures we read, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." May we help you to know the Christ who laid down his life for you.
Let's make the most of a minute. Some think these days we have too many initials to remember. I mean, you have the CIA, the IRS, the TPS, the DMV. Have you heard about the initials PMA? It simply stands for Positive Mental Attitude. The value of PMA in our lives is seen in the fact that we're often as happy as we make up our minds to be. And when we have that positive attitude, we perform better at our daily tasks. Now, from a spiritual standpoint, thinking on good things is so valuable for doing right. That's what Paul wrote about by inspiration in Philippians 4 and verse 8. Whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, whatsoever things are of good report. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, he says, think on these things. Today, let's work to think on good things. I'm Glenn Colley, hoping you make the most of your minutes.
Do you know some people watch Saturday Night Live, and then they come to church Sunday morning dead? You know, if the Bible teaches anything at all, it teaches that when we come to worship God, that we must come with a heart that is open and receptive to the Word of God. By and large, maybe this morning we're speaking to many of you that are Christians out there, and you get up and you go to worship regularly on Sunday morning or perhaps Sunday night, maybe on Wednesday night. But do you go with an open heart? Do you go with a heart that is ready to receive Christ and the message that is to be presented? Or do you go with a heart that's somewhat lackadaisical, a heart that really is not tuned in to the message of Christ and to the time that we spend in worship? Sometimes we never really put our whole heart into worship because the night before we have been so busy doing so many things and staying out so late that when it comes to Sunday morning, we would rather close our eyes in sweet slumber. Let me tell you, my friend, if we're going to worship God, we must worship Him wholeheartedly. Someone said that when we enter the church building, we are to enter to worship and then depart to serve. So the next time you go to worship, open your heart to God, open your ears to the message, and your eyes to the truth. Is something to think about.
I'm Caleb Colley, and we're on the Rock. Why can't a teenager like you be an elder in the church? Well, you may be a faithful Christian and a consistent worker in the Lord's church, but the fact of the matter is, not just anybody can be an elder. In 1 Timothy 3, verses 1 through 7, the Apostle Paul lists some very specific and precise qualifications for the office of elder. Here they are. A bishop, then, must be blameless, the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, of good behavior, hospitable, able to teach, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy for money, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not covetous, one who rules his own house well, having his children in submission with all reverence, not a novice, lest being puffed up with pride he fall into the same condemnation as the devil. Moreover, he must have a good testimony among those who are outside, lest he fall into the reproach and the snare of the devil. You see, there's more to being qualified to serve in the eldership than just being a good person who has the respect of his peers. So a teenager isn't qualified to be an elder. For one thing, he's a novice. He's still a relatively new Christian, but a teenage boy can grow spiritually and one day be qualified to serve as an elder. Join us next time on The Rock.
What is the meaning of life? Philosophers through the ages have sought an answer to that question. The world considers one successful if he attains wealth, honor, or fame. But do material things and worldly success really make life meaningful or bring peace or contentment or joy? In 1 John 2, 15 through 17, we read, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For all that is in the world is going to pass away." But then John says, "He that doeth the will of God abideth forever." The Apostle Paul in 1 Timothy 2:6 tells us godliness with contentment is great gain. What makes life meaningful? It's not the false security of a large bank account or influential friends. It's the joy of having sins forgiven, the peace of being in a proper relationship with God. I'm Jim Dearman. Thomas Jefferson said there were 3 laws to learning: repetition, repetition, repetition. To repeat an act or thought on a regular basis is an important way of growing as a Christian. When a child learns to write, he does so by writing the symbols over and over again. We can learn from this. Remember that Daniel prayed 3 times daily to God, and the early church grew because they went from house to house teaching the gospel. Today we can incorporate these principles into our lives. Through our constant Bible study, prayer, or daily good deeds to others, the law of repetition will work for us. Soon, by repeating these acts, doing right will simply be a way of life. I'm Jim Dearman with a brief message of truth for the world.
Suppose bottles of poison were not all marked as poison. Suppose drug manufacturers did not put the right label on each bottle. Surely we know what would happen. Countless people would die every day, or many would suffer serious health problems. But this is exactly what is going on in our society today. Homosexuality is called an alternate lifestyle. Adultery is but an affair. Obscene literature is peddled as adult. Murder of the innocent is called abortion. Why don't we label sin as sin and call evil practices by what they really are? We might be able not only to save lives, but more importantly to save souls. I'm Jim Dearman with a brief message of truth for the world.
Let's make the most of a minute. Public belief in God is becoming more rare. School officials, for example, have removed long-standing religious observances for fear that someone will trump up a lawsuit claiming their rights have been violated. Remember the last time you heard someone lead a prayer before a high school football game? That's now part of our past. In the name of freedom, they remove the mention of God's name from public events. And that's a shame. Perhaps now more than ever in your lifetime, it's become imperative to take a personal stand for what is morally and spiritually right. Jesus said in Matthew 12 and verse 30, "He that is not with me is against me." So As we live in this era in which the lines between the believer and the unbeliever are sometimes strongly drawn, let's live to say without hesitation, I am a Christian. I'm Glenn Colley from the Church of Christ, hoping you make the most of your minutes.
And now, something to think about with Dan Manuel. Did you realize that a bad attitude is like a flat tire? It just won't get you anywhere. I mean, you'll just rock along and just won't get you where you need to be. So let me encourage you today to have the right attitude. Someone said that attitude will determine your altitude. It really does. It determines whether or not you're successful in life, and it certainly determines whether or not you're going to heaven, whether or not you're going to be able to be with God when it's all over. So get rid of that bad attitude. You may wake up this morning with a bad attitude, but you don't have to hold on to it. Get rid of it and develop the right attitude, and to realize again that don't let it be like a flat tire. It just won't get you where you need to be, and that's something to think about.
Something to think about with Dan Manuel.
One of the greatest problems in today's society is the problem of alcohol. Because of it, families have lost fathers, mothers have lost children, and many have lost their souls. An anonymous author once wrote, "The name of each saloon is bar, the fittest of its names by far. A bar to heaven, a door to hell. Whoever named it well. A bar to manliness and wealth, a door to want and broken health. A bar to honor, pride, and fame. A door to grief, sin, and shame. A bar to hopes, a bar to prayer, a door to darkness and despair. A bar to honored, useful life, a door to brawling, senseless strife. A bar to all that's true and brave, a door to every drunkard's grave. A bar to joys that home imparts, a door to tears and aching hearts. A bar to heaven, a door to hell. Whoever named it well." I'm Jim Dearman with a brief message of truth for the world.
Thank you for listening to the Hey Joe Show Radio, brought to you by the Light Network and powered by Truth.fm. To learn more about Hey Joe Show Radio, visit kopublications.org.
Encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network.
YouTube TV, Now, Live, Kabuto, Coast to Coast,
You're
Watch Now on
listening
Fox
to
Business.
the Hey Joe Show Radio with Joe Wells, brought to you by KO Publications. To learn more about KO Publications, visit kopublications.org. That's KAIO publications.org.
Encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network.
YouTube TV, Now, Live, Outnumbered, Watch Now on Fox News, Attachment. YouTube TV, Now, Live, The Bad News Bears, Watch Now on IFC, Attachment.
Hello, and welcome to the Hey Joe Show.
Oh, you didn't say another episode of the Hey Joe Show. Oh, hey, let me do it.
You do it, please.
Another episode
of the Hey Joe Show.
There we go.
Very good, very good.
And we would like to thank the Light Network. They are wonderful.
They are wonderful.
Have lots of awesome podcasts, including this one. Okay, don't base all of them off of us.
They're much better ones.
We like to wait a minute. We like to think we're awesome. There are
we
really
like to think we
are really good podcasts, actually.
They are.
Listen to them all the podcasts. All right, you want me to say more?
I don't know.
What else are we supposed to say? Oh, you can catch, let's see, if you're not watching live over Facebook.
We're trying something new here. We're trying to let Aaron do the intro. Go ahead, try it.
Oh, I just said I was going to say thank you to the Light Network. Then you're supposed to take over. Okay, but I got this. If you're not watching live through Kyle Publications' Facebook site, then you can catch this episode back through the Light Network starting Thursday. And then you tell them how to do it.
At thelightnetwork.tv.
Yes, there you go.
And then at Apple Podcast or wherever you may download your podcast from. Right. That's where you go. And as a matter of fact, for those of you who are tuning in live tonight on Facebook,
hey, Sheila.
We want to welcome you to the show. And I tell you this, Erin is not just the looks of the program. She is the talent of the program, folks. I'm grateful that she's here. But tonight we've got a pretty interesting topic.
Yes.
I'm excited about this, especially in light of what season it is. And of course, this is my favorite. It's basically October through December is Christmas. I don't know why we bother with these other holidays.
No. Joe, who are you kidding? August through December. No, really, August through the next February is Christmas for you.
Yeah. I tell you what.
You just blow it off like it's not. No, that is true.
No,
that's true.
These other holidays are really kind of just a warm up. Kind of like stretching for an athlete, or maybe at a concert.
YouTube TV.
Who comes out and opens for the main show.
Watch now on Fox
Halloween and Thanksgiving is just like all part of building up to the. Yeah, it really starts in July.
We don't really get our tree down until like February or March. That's like the cool down. Like when you're exercising, you warm up and then you stretch and then you cool down.
Yep. Yeah, and see, and I'm advocating that the Wells family go to an all year round tree. I think
he has been advocating.
I think we should move to an all year round tree and simply change it according to the season. And so, we can decorate it for spring, we can decorate it for summer, July 4th, Halloween, Thanksgiving.
You have someone that agrees. After August, it's Christmas time.
Absolutely.
And they put a Christmas tree little emoji.
Absolutely. I think this idea of waiting to put a tree up for 1 month is really kind of a waste.
Well, now I will agree. It is.
You'll agree? Yeah. So anyhow, all those people who are for...
Yeah, remember when we used to take fun little polls like, what was that big
pleated
thing last
pants?
year? Oh, yeah, the whole pleated pants thing. Oh,
that's right.
I was trying to forget about that.
You can't forget about the pleats. Pleated pants
I feel like
rule.
We've had this poll before, like Christmas.
I don't know if we have or not.
I actually think we did 2 years ago.
I don't know, but it plays into tonight's topic.
So much to you that you
that
just
I paid
keep
attention.
Bringing it back up.
That's right. Well, it's because it happens every year. I mean, it's not like you can not pay attention. Obviously, everywhere around us. You go into Hobby Lobby, and let me tell you something. Hobby Lobby has quickly become one of my favorite stores of all time because I can celebrate all 3 holidays at one time in Hobby Lobby.
Oh, you can do more than 3.
I can go from some Halloween decorations into November just by changing the aisle, and then into Christmas land, all within a 30 to 45 minute stop at Hobby Lobby. Let me tell you something. Hobby Lobby is the ideal place if you like the fall and the holidays. They didn't even pay me to say that.
I will not disagree with you.
They didn't even pay me to say that, but I think they should become one of our corporate sponsors. Anybody out there who's listening, who's associated with the Hobby Lobby corporation, we would love to have you on as a sponsor of the Hey Joe Show.
You just want free stuff for Christmas.
I absolutely would love to have like my own Christmas village in my living room. I would put all those Christmas trees in my living room if I could. That's how much I like it. But today's not about Christmas.
No,
today,
but you would think it is because you got on.
I know,
but on your favorite holiday.
But that's because these holidays all build up to the holiday that is numero importante in my life, and that is. But that's not what we're talking about. Okay, we got to get back on track. We got to stay on track. What we're talking about today is a question, and a thread that has been discussed in the past, and I know that it will be in the future because it just so happens that it comes up all the time, and that is the subject of Christians and Halloween. Now, you would think on the Hey Joe Show that we'll just avoid, I like that.
Not only was that because Halloween didn't like ghosts, but because you're bringing up that subject.
Can't believe we're touching that one, right? But, on the Hey Joe Show, we've never purposely steered clear of even some of the most difficult subjects.
Joe Wells. Hey.
All right, folks, we're back on. It looks like. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Make sure we're up on Facebook again.
I'm not getting a notification. Oh, there it is. It's saying we're live.
All right. Let's get back to the subject at hand. Sorry about that inconvenience because you missed some of the best part of the show.
I know. We were like on a roll. We were doing good. I bet it was the best show we've had.
Probably was.
What season are we on? 5?
5. So maybe we should recap what all we've addressed and just bring the show to a close. I think. No, I'm teasing. We didn't get into it. But what we're talking about tonight is Christians and Halloween.
Halloween. Wait. We can't miss
Yeah,
this part,
do your sound effects. There you go. All right.
Better.
Here was the question, and we'll get into it tonight with this discussion. Do these two terms even fit in the same sentence? With all the blood, guts, and gore of Halloween, should Christians be involved? Is this a celebration of evil and the occult, or is it just a time to get together and have a good time? What about what the world around you sees? Could you be hurting your influence as a Christian? What do you think? And that's the question. So,
are you asking me or
no? That
or
was
that
the question.
Because I'm
That was the
here
question.
going. I'm trying to get our Facebook page up and going again.
No, that's the question. So here's the deal. With everything that surrounds Halloween, should Christians be involved in it? That's the question tonight.
Okay.
And so we got a multiple angles, I guess we could discuss it. First of all, do you happen to know where Halloween comes from?
Well, see, I'm having a hard time answering this because I've heard it before, but I can't remember. So technically, yes, but technically,
that's all right.
No.
Most people probably listening to this have heard, probably their answer is going to be very similar to what you just said, in the sense of maybe I have, but maybe I haven't, and I don't know if I have or not, so go ahead and tell me again. And I'm not going to tell you everything pertaining to Halloween. However, I will say this, that when it comes to our version of Halloween really became more in America now, really became more full swing somewhere in the late 1800s. That's quite interesting because when you think about the growth of our nation is not that old, speaking, relatively of everything that is out there. And other nations is what I mean. And so what you have to look at is this: how did we in America come to our concept of Halloween? Now, at its core, there's no doubt about it that it is founded in pagan concepts about the dead coming back to life, and on a particular night, individuals would get together to light bonfires, wear costumes to ward off ghosts. And that's actually a Celtic festival, according to the History Channel online, history.com. Where it talked about how every year on October 31st, the Celtic festival of Samhain, Samhain, people would light bonfires, wear costumes to ward off ghosts. And actually what happened was there were holidays that would be combined together along the way and make into All Hallows Eve, which later became Halloween. And it was a day for trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating sweet treats is what it became. But at its core, it wasn't that. Now, it wasn't that everybody walked around and asked for candy and they dressed up. The dressing up obviously had to do with the festival of the time and what they believed was going on, and that it was a celebration of the dead and things along those lines. But what happened was, over time, things changed. And of course, as the Romans came into play, you had multiple origins of this particular holiday or other holidays that would come together and they would mesh. And so what happened was there were other pagan holidays that would come about, and even one, I don't even know if y'all are aware of this, those of you listening, but have you ever thought why it is that you bob for apples at some of these Halloween parties and things like that? I thought it was quite interesting.
Because you want to get germs.
Because you want to get germs, that's right. That's right. I thought it was quite interesting, though, that the History Channel, history.com would say this. The first was Feralia, a day of late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today. I thought that was quite interesting, that maybe there's something to the apple being a part of the celebration. Now, here's the deal, and I want to say this, and maybe we can get into this concept. Where Halloween began is not as important to me as what it means today. Okay? Does that make sense?
Got it. Where Halloween began
is not as important as what it meant today.
Okay, here's another poll. And I do want to hear what people have to say about this. Say the holiday again.
Samhain?
No. The one that, coming up, starts with an H on the 31st.
Halloween.
Say it again.
Halloween.
So you say Halloween.
What do you say?
I say Halloween, but some people say Halloween. Is it Halloween or Halloween?
It is not hollow. It is not hollow. Whoever says that
That's what I
does. They don't listen well.
My mom might be listening.
Oh, does she say hollow?
She does.
I love my mother-in-law, by the way.
But I know other people that say it too.
But if she says
I
hollow,
gotta
she's
think.
not right.
And the Boo You Parade, where they say, this is
In the what?
the Boo You Parade at
Whew.
Disney.
I'm sure glad you went back and slowed that down. Wow.
Okay, well,
That was-
let's move
I
on.
thought the Hey Joe Show had just crossed over a line there, and I thought, man, the Light Network's going to kick us off.
When you go to this really awesome place in Orlando, that's the home to Mickey.
Oh, can't take her anywhere, folks.
Anyway, they have the Boo to You Parade, and they sing This Is, and I think they say Halloween.
Not Halloween?
But this is a thing. This is a real thing, and I'm curious.
This is a real thing, and it's really scary that we're gonna open this up for a poll. Do you say Halloween or Halloween?
Pleats or no pleats? We can open up Halloween
Pleats
or Halloween.
or no pleats is a serious question.
Hey, have you ever watched Meet Me in St. Louis, which is a really old movie, but one of my favorites?
I have watched Meet Me in St. Louis.
And Meet Me in St. Louis, and I don't know why, but my computer, every time we do the Hey Joe Show, like, it quits working. Anyway, it's like it doesn't like
Are
the
you
Hey
on
Joe
the
Show.
home internet or on your hotspot internet?
I'm on your hotspot, but it's my computer. I think my computer doesn't like the Hey Joe Show.
On my hotspot.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so going back to Meet Me in St. Louis, Mr. Tangent.
Hey, this is not my tangent. I was on the history of Halloween, but you go right
But
ahead.
what I'm saying, this has to do with Halloween, is that, remember, like, they went... Where did they go? Oh, how can I forget? This was like one of my favorite shows. They went and they like threw flour in this like older gentleman's face that they thought was scary, but they like also like looted and they like threw stuff into like a fire they made in the middle of the street. And yeah, I don't know if that has to do, if that goes back to any of that kind of stuff, but I thought that was always weird.
It actually does go back to some of that because the idea of...
So see, I'm not on a tangent.
No, you're correct. And that's another thing is that at different points in time in American history, Halloween had different concepts to it and different things. And that's one of the unique things that this history document brings forth. It says celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief systems there. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and the southern colonies. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups as well as the American Indians meshed, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included what they called play parties, public events held to celebrate the harvest, where neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance, and sing. And colonial Halloween festivals also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief-making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, so now we're in the middle of 1800s, annual autumn festivals were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. So during the second half of the 19th century, the late 1800s, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. They used to go around and they would do tricks or treat. That was a real question at one time. When somebody walk up and say trick or treat, that was a real question at one time. However, the idea of Halloween being based upon trick or treat, it lost that sense. In other words, when kids go around and say trick or treat today, it's not an idea of if you choose treat or trick instead of giving us a treat, then we're going to throw flour in your face. That's not what it is anymore. But it is interesting that this article says they used to go around and ask for food as they would celebrate this particular event. So here's the deal. Obviously, this is not a history lesson on Halloween, right? Or Halloween, whatever it may be called.
Although Miss Roxanne agrees with me.
What did you say?
Halloween.
Halloween, that's what I said.
I know, and that's how I say it.
Oh, well then you're right.
Well, of course I'm right.
And that means I'm right. Yeah. I mean, how dare I? But the idea is this. This is not a how did we get Halloween? Right? Usually that's not where this discussion lands. The discussion lands on should Christians participate. So let me ask you this. Why do you think, and just let's brainstorm together. and maybe those who are listening to this live and watching live, why is it that Christians would have a problem with Halloween? So what do you think? Let's talk. Why do you think some individuals might have a problem with Halloween?
Well, since you brought up its origins, I was going to say maybe from its origins, but I was over here having technical difficulties, so I don't really know everything you said about the origins. So I'm going to pretend.
No, you just missed one of the greatest parts of the show, too. This is quite the night, isn't it? No, I would say this. The origin is probably the number one reason why individuals say that Christians should not participate in Halloween.
See? I got it right. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That's why, obviously this is called the Hey Joe Show, so you're going to get my conclusions.
They think it's Satan worship.
Some do.
Thank you for your feedback.
Some do, Patrick. You're absolutely right. And that goes back to, where did it come from? What was its start? What was the beginning? And of course, individuals who are of that train of thought, I do not intend in any way, shape, or form with this show to offend. But I do want to open up a sincere dialogue, at least in the sense that you and I get to have a dialogue, and anybody who wants to participate live. But those who will download this as a podcast, I want you to consider it in your own thinking and your own conclusions. And that is this, that it may have started one way, but the question is that what it is today? I would also offer this, and in the sense that Patrick said some people view it as Satan worship, they also then, in being consistent in that view, they would have to have a problem with other holidays, not just Halloween. For instance, and many people don't know this, where did we get the concept of celebrating birthdays?
Ooh, I don't know. Do tell.
When you get into the Bible, it's interesting because I don't read of it being a sense that it was amongst God's people to celebrate birthdays. Now, some people would look at that and say, well, that was because it wasn't significant, or maybe their customs were different. And I get that, right? But what is interesting is this, that there are individuals, even in the Jewish community, that looked at birthdays and the keeping of birthdays as idolatrous worship. Now, that was back in the day. Of course, in the Egyptian times, the birthdays of some individuals were considered holy days. Now, these were the pharaohs, but they were considered the holy days, and therefore on those particular birthdays, work did not occur. So the question is this: am I going to avoid birthday celebrations because to some people at some point in time in the past, it represented idolatrous worship?
Look at you asking
Question number one.
to get you to think.
Question number two is this: does an individual who believes that they can take their spouse out for Valentine's Day have a problem? Because the question is asked.
They better not have a problem. They better be taking their spouse out for Valentine's.
Now, I agree,
several
baby.
times a month.
I agree, but the reality is this, that Valentine's Day, if you trace it back enough, the question is, should Christians celebrate in Halloween? And the answer is no.
And this was a question for those who did not tune in early.
Correct.
This was a sincere question from a teenager.
Should Christians celebrate or participate in Halloween? And so the question is this: if it is wrong because of its origin, then am I going to be consistent in these other events that I participate in because their origins also are tainted? Right? If the argument is origin, these other things are tainted in their origin as well, such as Valentine's Day came from an individual that is known as Saint Valentine. Another question that is brought forth is this: when we place flowers on the graves of our loved ones, is this the same as the Hindu practice of putting food on the graves of one's ancestors? Does having a wedding ceremony in a church building imply that we endorse the Catholic notion that marriage is a church sacrament? In other words, all of these things that we do we as Christians really stop to say, well, let me consider the origin of everything? And if that be the case, then let me ask you a question. What will we participate in? Because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a majority of these things that we celebrate today have origins outside of what we think.
So basically what you're saying is the origin argument doesn't work if we do the other stuff.
I'm saying the origin argument demands you to be consistent.
Right. And someone said, great point. And we have a couple other comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Patrick said, we don't do Halloween, but not think it is anything to do with Satan as some. Okay, I think that means, but we do not think that it has anything to do with Satan as some. But then he said Christmas is pagan, and we love Christmas.
Yeah, and that's the catch-22. But Patrick, I love you being honest, man, because the idea is this: I've got to decide why I pick and choose. Now, I'm going to guess that there's more people out there that probably feel similar to the way that you feel. So I don't disagree. Now, here's where Aaron and I are. And since this is only supposed to be a 30-minute show.
Oh, where are we at? I don't know. The whole mess up in the middle and having to restart over has got me all.
But we can't beat around the bush forever, right? Otherwise, it's people are going to tune out and not tune in. So
never.
So here's the deal. The question of origin is the number one issue, right?
Okay, right.
But let me ask you this as well.
Number one.
What about this one? What about this one? This is a good one.
Okay.
What about my influence?
Okay.
If I participate in something that others truly view as it is a sin, not just we don't like it,
right?
But what about the concept of it being a sin? Do I have an obligation to my brother or sister in Christ to avoid that? That's the other question that comes about. And here's where I'm going to turn to that. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, that's where Paul dealt with the eating of meat. And within that discussion, within that letter, at that point in time to the Corinthian church, Paul's attitude was this: if me eating meat causes my brother to stumble, then I'll never eat meat again. But the eating of the meat, Paul had already addressed earlier in chapter 8 that it was not a big deal because they knew there was no gods that they were worshipped to, that it was simply meat that was hanging in a market somewhere. And so therefore he had no problem ultimately eating the meat.
Right.
But the issue became the benefit of my brother. Do I love my brother more than I love eating meat? Right? And so I can see from that standpoint why individuals may not participate.
Okay, but can you rephrase the question again? Because I'm sitting over here thinking, if someone has a problem with it, do they have a problem with it for themselves? Or is it if they have a problem with everybody that they're around doing it?
Well, and I would say this, some
people might be opposite. Some people like some of them that have said, like Rachel said, we don't do Halloween anymore simply because it's become darker than it used to be. I prefer Thanksgiving over all of them, so some people might be in a situation where we don't practice it, but they don't mind. But then there might be some that don't practice it and they don't want to be around it at all. They don't want you to do it either.
Sure. And here's where the dilemma comes. The issue is not, I saw her
I'm
post.
laughing at Patrick. He said, I honestly do not do Halloween because I hate walking with 5 kids.
Amen to that one, brother. Amen to that one. But here's the deal. The question is not, do I just not like it? The question is, does it cause me to stumble in sin?
Right. Because if someone just doesn't like it.
That's not what 1 Corinthians is about.
Right.
That falls into Romans chapter 14, which is some people will elevate days above the others, but there are no days that are elevated concept. Right? That's called the scruples idea. And that people have to respect that there are going to be some individuals that will look at days differently than other people look at days, and not to let that be a divisive issue in the brotherhood, right? Amongst Christians. However, if it is a matter of sin, I mean, if my brother is weak and me eating the meat causes him to sin in the sense that he may be more influenced to participate in it, then I better not eat the meat because I don't want to influence that person to sin. In the same sense, when it comes to this subject, I've got to be aware of my impact on my brethren. I have to be aware of that. Now that plays into your immediate context. That plays into who is going to be influenced by you to do this and thus sin. Not just, hey, we don't participate in it. We don't think you should participate in it. There, be end. Right? Therefore, if you go against what we say, then you're sinning. No, that's not what this is saying. That's an abuse of the text. If it's sin, it's sin. If it's not sin, it's not sin. If it's opinion, it's opinion. Right? We got to keep that in line. But I can say this as well, that would be one reason why people would not participate is for influence on other people. Now, here's where you and I are, right? You want to, I don't know.
Tell me. I can't wait to hear
this. And one of us has got to talk about it, but we made a decision a while back that we did not want to celebrate the gore.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And you remember the ways that we may have approached that with our children growing up?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. You're going to have to remind me.
You don't remember.
I'm not sure the answer you're looking for.
Oh, I'm not fishing for anything. I'm fishing for dialogue. That's all. So the idea is,
I can have dialogue, but I really don't know what the answer is.
We chose to allow the dress up and whatnot, but we didn't go the blood route. We didn't go the zombie route. We didn't go the gore. I don't know how else to say that. There are some costumes that are like my son dressed up as Woody from Toy Story, right? Versus,
Oh, we love dressing up. I love matching them.
but you know what I'm talking about. One year we dressed up as the people or the characters from Inside Out.
Oh yeah, that was really
right.
fun.
One year
Except our oldest, who's now 15, who will remain nameless, Colton. He would not do it.
Well, sometimes you get too cool.
So 5 of the 6 of us did.
You get too cool. But one year we dressed up as characters from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that was a fun year, too.
Right? And so we've turned it more, not so much,
like,
we did
the kids were
some incredible stuff. We turned it away from the scary
we did
and the gore. What'd I miss?
Last year it was a little scary.
With
we'll blame that on our visitors who were here and decorated for us.
Oh, well, in that you're talking about
it wasn't gory, you're right.
We had like little dog that was a bone skeleton that would bark at people or something.
Yeah, I know. I'm laughing because that's our version of scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, hey, watch this, my face is peeling off.
No.
Here's the deal, though. That's what we chose. There will be other people that may listen to this, and those that we know that may say, well, you know what? It's still not that big a deal. I'm not going to suggest that it would be sin. I'm not going to go that far. I don't know what individuals listen to this, what your view of that is, but I would say this: for our family, we chose not to do that. We chose to not.
It's all about dressing up in candy. No, actually.
Well, and that's what we did. We chose to go
I'm laughing
there
because my kids don't like it. Because I'm like, okay, pick out 5 pieces of candy and give me the rest. We're going to take it and send it to the military.
Right. We chose to go that different route, and we did so because we didn't want to make it about the gore,
right?
And all of that. Now, do we let our children go around and get candy? We did. We have. Do we participate more so with, obviously the safe environment comes into play there.
Yes, we love trunk or treating.
Trunk or treating is a very safe idea. And so we do not have a problem with that. We participate in that. However, for us, you got to understand, that's why I started off this podcast, that the background behind Halloween is not as important to me as what it is now. And what it is now has become more of a family going around getting candy, seeing the little children dressed up. I have to be real with you. I don't get why well, I do get it. I just don't like it. Teenagers go around not dressed.
Play button.
It's 1/2
YouTube TV, now, live, channel to action news at 12:30 p.m. Watch now on WSB2, attachment.
My details button.